Good evening, guys. In the last session, we discussed what is operating system and what is Windows operating system, what is Linux operating system, what are the differences between Windows and Linux, and what are the Linux distributions available. We discussed about below topics in last session. What is operating system? What is operating system? Why we need operating system? Why we need operating system? Evolution of operating systems. Evolution of operating systems. Windows operating system. Windows operating system. Linux operating system. Linux operating system. Linux distributions. Linux distributions. Then we discussed about Windows versus Linux. Windows versus Linux. This is what we discussed in the last session. I have uploaded these notes also in our website. You guys can download that notes as well. Fine. Let's quickly revise this. What is operating system? Operating system is a software which acts as a mediator between computer hardware and end user. So what is operating system, guys? Operating system will act as a mediator between computer hardware and end user. Operating system will act as a mediator between computer hardware devices, computer hardware components and end user. OS will act as mediator between computer hardware components and end user. If you want to do any operation in the computer, that computer should have at least one operating system. Okay. In 1950s, first operating system came into market. First operating system came into market. In 1960s, first Unix operating system came into market. First Unix OS came into market. In 1985, Microsoft released MS-DOS operating system. In 1985, Microsoft released MS-DOS operating system. MS-DOS operating system. In 1991, Linus Torvalds released Linux operating system. Linux is free and open source operating system. Linux is free and open source operating system. Linux is free and open source operating system. Linux is multi-user based operating system. Linux is multi-user based operating system. Multiple users can use Linux operating system at a time. Several companies redesigned Linux operating system and released into market with their name. Linux having several distributions. Many companies redesigned Linux OS and released into market with their brand names. Like RHEL, Ubuntu, CentOS, SUSE, etc. These all are called as Linux distributions which are available in the market. This was the summary of our discussion in the last session. Okay. 1981 or 85 something, 1981 I think so. In 1981, Microsoft released MS-DOS operating system. In 1985, Windows operating system came into market. Okay, that's fine. Good. So now, can you quickly look at these points, guys? What is operating system? Operating system is a software which acts as a mediator between computer hardware components and end user. In 1950s, first operating system came into market. In 1960s, first Unix OS came into market. In 1981, Microsoft released MS-DOS operating system. In 1991, Linus Torvalds released Linux operating system. Linux is a free and open source operating system. Free means you can use it for free of cost. Open source means the source code also available for you. You can modify the source code according to your requirement. And Linux is a multi-user based operating system. That means multiple users can access Linux operating system at a time. Whereas Windows is a single user operating system, Linux is a multi-user based operating system. And there are several distributions available for the Linux. There are several distributions available for the Linux. Now, what is the meaning of a distribution? Several companies has taken the Linux source code. They have redesigned that source code. They have modified that code. They released into market with their brand name, like that RHEL, Ubuntu, CentOS, SUSE, like that there are several other distributions are available. We can call them as Linux flavors or Linux distributions. Are you guys comfortable with this? Are you guys comfortable with this? Now here, when we compare Windows and Linux, when to go for Windows, when to go for Linux? Linux is highly secured operating system. Linux is highly secured operating system. Windows is not secured, whereas Linux is secured operating system. Are you guys getting my point? Linux is secured operating system. Linux is secure operating system. Now, here we know two operating systems. One is Windows operating system and another one is Linux operating system. Windows operating system is recommended for personal use. Windows OS recommended for personal usage. In your computer, if you want to maintain your computer for your activities, daily activities, then you can go for Windows operating system. And the next one is Linux OS recommended. Linux OS recommended for servers. Linux OS is recommended for servers. Now, whenever you want to host your application in a server, you need one computer with the OS, then you will go for Linux OS. You will go for Linux OS to host our applications. Okay, now using AWS, we can create instances. Now we have created AWS. We are using AWS cloud. We are using AWS cloud services provided by Amazon company. In AWS, we are using EC2. EC2 stands for Elastic Compute Cloud. EC2 stands for Elastic Cloud Compute. Elastic Compute Cloud service, which is very famous and demanding service in AWS. EC2 stands for Elastic Compute Cloud Service, which is very famous and demanding service in the AWS. By using EC2, we can create virtual machines, are also called as instances. Using EC2, we can create virtual machines, which are called as instances. Can I create a virtual machine by using a EC2? Can I create a virtual machine by using EC2? Yes. Now, when I create a virtual machine, can I call that virtual machine as an instance of EC2? Can I call that virtual machine as an instance of EC2? Yes, we can call that virtual machine as a EC2 instance. Okay. For your project, you can create the virtual machines by using EC2. For your project, you can create virtual machines using EC2. Is AWS charging for creating EC2 instances, or AWS providing EC2 instances for free of cost? AWS is charging or AWS is providing for free of cost? First 1 year free. First 1 year services free. You have created one account now. 12 months you can use AWS services for free of cost. Every month you can use the services for 750 hours. If you use more than 750 hours in a month, then AWS will charge. Okay, for first 1 year, AWS services are free of cost. Some free services are available in AWS. You can use those free services. Every month you can use those services for 750 hours. Every month you can use those services for 750 hours. If you cross that limit, then bill will be generated for you. They don't charge anything from your account directly, guys. AWS will inform you, you have to pay that bill manually. AWS will not deduct anything from your account without informing you. AWS will not do any deductions from your card directly. They will generate the bill. They will inform to you, this is the bill generated for your account. You have to pay that bill manually. You have to pay that bill manually. Are you guys getting my point? Okay. Now we have created one instance in the EC2 with Windows OS. We have created one EC2 instance. For that EC2 instance, we have used Windows OS. We have created one EC2 instance with Windows OS. Just for practice purpose, I have created Windows. Do you think that in the real time for applications, are we going to use Windows? Are we going to use Windows for the real time applications? No. For this Windows OS, there is a DNS and there is a username and there is a password. This is EC2 instance, which is running in the AWS data center. Which is running in the AWS data center, EC2 instance. How can I connect to this EC2 instance from my personal computer? How can I connect to this EC2 instance from my personal computer, my PC? It is my PC, my personal computer. In my personal computer also, I am having Windows operating system. In my personal computer also, I am having Windows operating system. So in the Windows operating system, there is one application called RDP, Remote Desktop Connection. There is one application called RDP. It is available by default in your Windows. By default, it will come with the Windows OS, RDP. By using this RDP application, we can connect from our local machine to EC2 instance, which is having Windows OS. And you can store your data. You can keep your files. You can store your data and you can perform your operations. AWS EC2 instance with Windows OS. AWS EC2 with Windows OS. So this is what we have done in the AWS EC2 instance. We have done in the AWS data center. I have launched one machine with the Windows OS and I have connected to that machine by using my RDP. I have connected to that by using RDP. RDP is one Windows application available in the Windows operating system. From my computer, I'm able to connect to the EC2 instance. EC2 instance, nothing but Amazon computer. Amazon people are having so many computers in the data center. We are using one of the computer from their data center. We are using one of the computer from the data center for our requirement. Is this clear, guys? Is this clear for all of you? Now, can we launch one Linux machine in the EC2? We discussed about what is Linux operating system, why the Linux is recommended. We discussed about Linux operating system and why Linux is recommended. Now, I want to launch one EC2 instance with Linux OS and I want to connect to that Linux OS and I want to perform some operations on the Linux machine. Shall we get started now? Can we launch one Linux machine? Can we launch one Linux machine? Yes, already I have given the document. You people are able to follow the document and launch the Linux machine. Once again, see in the live class, I'm going to launch one EC2 instance with the Linux operating system and we'll discuss some commands in the Linux also. Good. Now I'm going to my EC2 dashboard. Currently, any instances are running? No instances are running. I am connected to which region in the AWS now? I have connected to which region in the AWS now? I have connected to Mumbai region, AP South 1, because this is the nearest region for me. In the Mumbai region, we have 3 data centers, South 1A, South 1B, South 1C. By default, I am going to connect with the 1A data center. Click on launch instance, launch instance. I have selected that button. Now here you can see choose an Amazon machine image AMI. That means so many people wants easy to instance with Windows OS, Linux OS. Instead of you are installing the operating system in the machine, Amazon giving you ready-made instances for you. That means Amazon already having the computers in the data center with Windows OS, with Linux OS, with Mac OS. Okay, so those ready-made computers available in the data center are called as Amazon machine images. Already the machines are ready. If you want, you can directly use them. So I need to choose an Amazon machine image AMI, Amazon Linux, Mac OS, okay, Red Hat Enterprise Linux, Red Hat Enterprise. What is a Red Hat, guys? What is a Red Hat? Is it a separate OS or it is a Linux distribution? It is a Linux distribution, Linux flavor. Next one, SUSE. SUSE is also a Linux flavor. That means these people has taken the Linux code and they have redesigned it. Ubuntu. So Ubuntu is also a Linux flavor, Linux distribution. Windows servers are available now. So which one you want me to use? I'm going for Ubuntu. Ubuntu is a Linux distribution. Now I'm selecting this. Whenever you are selecting any image, you check it. Is it available for free or not? Free tier eligible. That means monthly 750 hours you can use this machine. Monthly 750 hours you can use this machine. You got my point. Free tier eligible. Click on select. Right. Now I have selected instance. AMI I have selected. Now choose an instance type. T2 micro. T2 micro is a free tier eligible. First 12 months following your AWS sign up date, you get up to 750 hours of micro instances each month. You can use any number of instances with 750 hours usage in a month. Okay, I'm going for T2 micro. Configure instance details. How many instances you want? That means how many machines you want. If you want one machine, by default number of instances is 1. If you want to 10 machines, you can make instances as a 10. 10 machines are going to start for you. I'm going with the default value, that is 1. Next, add storage. What is the size we are getting by default? 8. When I use Windows, what is the default size I got? When I go for Windows instance, what is the size I got? 30 GB I got for the Windows. But for the Linux, I'm getting what? 8 only. If you want, you can increase that. You can add the new volume also. No problem. Next, add the tags. Add the tags. Now, there is no tag available. You can add a tag. Tag nothing but name, key value. Name, my first Linux VM. I'm giving the name as my first Linux VM. Next, security group. Now, here guys, for Windows, we have used RDP. For Linux, we are using SSH. SSH port range is 22. We are opening SSH port with the 22 port number. I'm not adding any new security groups. We'll talk about the inbound rules, outbound rules will be available for the security. That means who can access our computer and our computer can access which computers. Inbound, outbound. What traffic can come to our EC2 instance? What traffic can go from our EC2 instance? Who can access? Who we can access? Inbound, outbound rules comes into picture when we are talking about security groups. We'll talk about the security groups in the coming classes. Now, review and launch. Whatever you have entered, you just review. Then click on launch. This is important part. I want to talk more about this part today. Here, what they're saying, guys. Select an existing key pair to create a new key pair. Select an existing key pair or create a new key pair. Can you please read this text? What is this text here? Can you please read this text here? A key pair consists of a public key that AWS stores and a private key that you store. That means key pair nothing but it is the combination of public key and private key. Public key AWS will store, private key you store. Together, they allow you to connect to your instance securely. Together, that will allow you to connect to your instance securely. Now, choose create a new key pair. RSA key pair. I'm taking Linux VM key pair. What is the name I am giving, guys? Linux VM key pair I have given download key pair. Linux VM key pair I have downloaded, which is .pem. Linux key pair I have downloaded, which is .pem. Then launch instance. I have downloaded the key pair and my instance launched. Now let's see what is this? What is this key pair? What is this key pair? What is key pair in AWS EC2? What is key pair in AWS EC2? Got my point? When we create EC2 instance, AWS will provide one key pair for us. We have to download that key pair. When we create EC2 instance, it will provide a key pair for us. When we create EC2 instance, it will provide a key pair for us. It will provide a key pair for us. Key pair consists of public key and private key. Key pair consists of public key and private key. AWS will store the public key and we have to store the private key. Key pair consists of the public key and private key. AWS stores public key and we have to store private key. We have to store the private key. This public key and private key are used to connect to EC2 instance securely. This public key and private key are used to connect with EC2 instance securely. To connect with EC2 instance securely. Now, guys, I have created EC2 instance. Do you know my EC2 instance IP address? You know my EC2 instance IP address. If you go to this EC2 instance which is created, you see the instance is available. Some people are saying that I'm not able to see the IP address and the DNS. Some people are saying that, Ashok, we are not able to see EC2 instance IP address and the DNS. The reason is you have not selected it. If you select it, it will display the details. If you unselect it, it will not display. That means we can create multiple instances now. We can create multiple, one Linux instance I will create, one Windows instance I will create. Which instance details it has to display, you have to select it. When you select it, it will display public IP, it will display DNS, it will display public IP, it will display DNS, and it is a Ubuntu instance. It is a Ubuntu instance. Now, you know my IP, my system IP, my EC2 instance IP, Can you connect it to my instance from your computer? It is running in the AWS cloud. Can you connect to that? If you know the IP, you cannot, because my instance is secured by the AWS. How the AWS has secured it? By using key pair. So what is there in the key pair? Public key is available and private key is available. Public key is available, private key is available. Okay, what is this public key and private key? Here, EC2 instance is available. Here, EC2 instance is available. EC2 instance is available. EC2 instance contains a public key. EC2 instance contains what? There is a public key available in the EC2 instance. There is a public key available in the EC2 instance. Now, people will try to connect to this instance. Now, here I'm trying to connect to this instance. Can EC2 allow me to connect to this instance directly? It will not allow me to connect to this instance directly. Why? Because that instance is secured. How it is secured? By using a key pair. Key pair contains what? One public key and one private key. What key is available in the AWS? What key is available in the AWS, guys? Public key is available and private key is available. AWS contains what? AWS contains public key. Now, when somebody tries to connect with the AWS EC2 instance, what EC2 instance will check? If you want to connect, if you want to my PC, if I want to connect from my computer to EC2 instance, I have to send the private key. I have to send it, it's mandatory. Whatever the key I have downloaded, that private key I want to send to EC2 instance. When I send the EC2 instance to the, when I send the private key to the EC2 instance is going to check this private key is matching with this public key or not. That is called handshake. That is called handshake. Simple. When you go for a company, at the gate, security guard will check, do you have ID card or not? Okay. So whenever you are entering into a software company, what that security guard will check? Will security guard allow everybody inside the company? Will everybody allow inside the company? No. They will check your ID card. Are you belongs to this company or not? If you have the company ID card, then only they will allow inside. Similarly, when somebody trying to connect to my EC2 instance, will EC2 allow us? Will EC2 allow anybody to connect with my instance? Will AWS allow anybody to connect with my instance? That instance I have created, only I want to connect with that instance. Because my instance may contain a server, my instance may contain my application, my instance contains my data. People cannot access my instance directly. I don't want to allow them. How AWS is providing the security? By using key pair. Public key available, private key available. So public key is stored in the EC2 instance. You store the private key. When you want to connect with the EC2 instance, you send the private key. You send the private key to the EC2 if you want to connect with that EC2. Now my computer is there. My EC2 launched here. My EC2 launched with the Linux OS. Now from my computer, I want to connect with the EC2. I want to store my data. I want to install one server. I want to perform some operation. What I need to do to connect with the EC2? I need to send the private key to the EC2. When I send a private key, EC2 will compare this private key is matching with the public key or not. AWS already having the public key for our EC2. When I want to connect with the EC2, I'm sending a private key. This private key matching with the public key or not. If the private key not matching with the public key, you cannot connect to the EC2. If your private key matched with the public key, then only you can connect to the EC2. You can perform the operation. Are you getting my point? What is private key and public key? Are you getting my point? What is public key and private key? Teja Verma, you asked me a question. Why two keys are there? Why not only one key? It is something like a lock, guys. Whenever you want to lock your house, you will lock the house and you will take the key. Whenever you want to unlock, you need to have that key. Same thing. AWS is keeping a key for our instance. That is a public key. It is giving you private key. That is what I have downloaded. When I have created the instance, it asked me to download the key pair. I have downloaded a file called PEM file. I have downloaded a file called PEM file. That PEM file contains a private key. Public key already available in the EC2. When we want to connect with the AWS EC2 instance, we need to send the private key. When we send the private key, EC2 will compare our private key with the public key. If the private key matched with public key, then only connection will open. Otherwise, connection will be rejected. Now, so here, when we create EC2 instance, it will provide a key pair for us. When we create EC2 instance, it will provide a key pair for us. Key pair consists of public key and private key. AWS stores public key and we have to store the private key. AWS stores the public key and we have to store private key. This public key and private key are used. Public key and private key are used to connect with EC2 instance securely. Public key and private key are used to connect with the EC2 instance securely. My PC, public and private key. When we want to connect with, after launching EC2, instance, if we want to connect with EC2 instance, we have to send private key to AWS EC2 instance. We have to send a private key to AWS EC2 instance. AWS EC2 will match our private key with public key, compare our private key and public key. If they are matching, then connection will established, otherwise connection will be rejected. If our private key is matched with AWS EC2 public key, then connection will be established. Otherwise connection will be rejected. Now you got the clarity. What is the key pair in the AWS EC2? Now, yesterday when you are following the document, you are able to follow the document, you are able to set up, but people are having so many questions. Array, what is this key pair? What is public key? What is private key? Why we need to load the key in the putty? So many doubts people got. Now today, I hope your doubts are clarified about the key pair. This key pair is used for security. We don't want anybody to connect to our EC2. Only we want to connect with our EC2 by using this key pair. That's why AWS is guaranteeing the security for the services what they are providing. AWS is guaranteeing the security for the services what we are creating. Are you clear with this point? Are you clear with this key pair concept in the AWS? Yeah, please read these points once again. Very, very important. Interview question. What is key pair in the EC2? They will ask a question. What is key pair in the EC2? When we create EC2 instance, it will provide a key pair for us. We have to download that. Key pair consists of public and private keys. EC2 will store the public key and we have to store the private key. This public key and private key are used to connect with EC2 securely. Public key and private key are used to connect with the EC2 securely. Got it? Fine. Now, if you want to connect with the EC2, you need to send the private key to connect. Whenever we send the private key to the EC2, it will compare our private key is matching with public key or not. It is going to compare our private key is matching with EC2 public key or not. If our private key matched, then connection will be established. Otherwise, connection will be rejected. Perfect. Next one. Connecting with EC2 using putty. Okay, instead of before going to the putty, right? Now let's go here, select the instance, guys. If you don't select the instance, you cannot see the details. You have to select the instance. If you don't select it, connect button is also disabled. If you don't select the instance, it is not displaying the instance. Connect button. Name is not available. You can enter the name my Linux VM. Save it. It is displaying the name also. For that, the name of this instance I have given as a my Linux VM. There is an edit option. You click on the edit, you can save that name. My Linux VM is the name I have given for this. If you select this, this is called checkbox, guys. If I select this checkbox, that means I have selected this, then I can connect to that. If I unselect it, I cannot connect to that. So whenever you are in the EC2 dashboard, go to your instances running. There is one instance available which is running. Can you see the instance information? No. What is IP? I cannot see that. So what we need to do? Select it. Then there is an option called connect. How you want to connect? Do you want to connect from the browser directly? That also possible. But generally, we will use putty to connect with the Linux machines in the real time. We'll come to the putty also. First, directly see here. I'm going to connect it to this instance. I have selected this instance details. EC2 dashboard, instances running. Select this name. Click on connect. Now, username is Ubuntu. This is the public IP. If I give this IP address, can you connect to my instance? If I give this one, can you connect to my instance? Is my instance available for everybody, or you need a private key? You need a private key. My instance is secured by AWS. My instance is secured by AWS. You cannot connect to my EC2 now because my instance having security. If you want to connect with my instance, then you need instance public IP address. You need a private key. If you have this private key and if you have this address, then you can connect it to my instance and you can use my instance. But I will not give you my private key. It is secured. Okay. Now simply click on connect. Directly we are connecting here. Wow. Am I able to connect to my Linux machine, which is having am I able to connect to my EC2 instance, which is having Linux OS flavor, which is Ubuntu? Am I able to connect to this machine? Am I able to connect to this machine now? Come on, guys. So now I am accessing EC2 instance, which is having Linux. Sir, what about the private key? I'm connecting directly from here, man, because I am not giving the credentials to anybody. Directly I'm connecting from the browser, then you don't need it. If you want to connect from the putty, then you need the private key. So here, this account only I am using. This is my account. These are my credentials. I am connecting to this. Can you access my account? No, I can't give you my credentials for you. You can't access my account. So they are giving one option to connect directly from the browser. That's it. If you want to connect from the putty, then you need that private key. Okay. Am I able to connect to my EC2 instance from the browser? Am I able to connect to EC2 instance from the browser? Yes or no? What is the username of my instance now? Ubuntu is my instance username. Ubuntu is my EC2 instance username. Okay. There are some commands that we can execute in the Linux, guys. Linux commands. PWD. PWD stands for present working directory. PWD nothing but present working directory. So it is home. Inside the home, Ubuntu is available. Let me come back CD space. Let me come back CD space. Now here PWD. What is my present working directory? / CD space home. Now I am in the home directory. Like this, some commands we can execute in the Linux terminal. This is a shell. This is a terminal. This is a shell. We can call it as a terminal. PWD is one command. What is the purpose of a PWD command? What is the purpose of PWD command? Present working directory. Now, if you see Windows, now I am in the currently, if you see this my computer, here C directory available, E C drive, E drive, F drive. If you go to E drive, then you can see some folders, Ashok IT. Now, in the Ashok IT, if you see 01 DevOps, now this is my present working directory. E drive, Ashok IT folder, 01 DevOps. This is my present working directory. So similarly, in the Linux, if you want to know the present working directory, the command is the PWD. PWD. CD space Ubuntu. Ubuntu is my username. I'm in the home directory, Ubuntu folder. Inside the home, Ubuntu. I am currently inside the Ubuntu. Now, who am I? What is my username? My username is Ubuntu. My username is what? Ubuntu. Now, here I'm executing ls command. Is it displaying anything? When I execute ls, is it displaying anything? Nothing, because just now I have created this. Instance. Currently my Ubuntu folder is empty. I want to create one file in the Ubuntu. There is a command touch f1.txt. Touch f1.txt. Now what happened? I have created one file, touch f1.txt. Touch f2.txt. One more file I have created. Now ls. Can you see f1.txt and f2.txt files which are created in the Ubuntu folder? Touch is the command which is used to create the files. Now ls-l list the files. So I want to see the complete file information, with the file permissions also, ls-l. Now it is displaying f1.txt, f2.txt. These are the files I have created inside the Ubuntu folder by using touch command. So what are the commands we have seen as of now? pwd command, whoami command, touch command, ls command. Touch command, ls command. I want to create one folder, make directory. I want to create one directory, make directory. I want to create one directory with a name called DevOps, mkdir DevOps. Now, ls, you see that DevOps one directory available, f1.txt file available, f2.txt file available. ls-l, ls-l, can you see? DevOps. DevOps is a directory. The first character represents D. D represents it is a directory. Directory means a folder in the Windows. In the Windows, you can see folder is available. Class notes is one folder. Class notes is one folder. In the Linux, we will call it as a directory. ls means list. List the files. List the directory. Whatever the content available in the directory, you just list it. For that, we are going to use a command called ls command. ls-l, list all the files and directories available in that directory with the proper information. Okay, ls-l, it is listing. Now, what is the purpose of mkdir? Mkdir AWS. It is used to create the directory, make directory. mkdir is used to make the directory. Now use ls. AWS is one directory, DevOps is one directory, f1.txt one file, f2.txt is one file. Are you able to understand? Are you able to understand? If you want to see that clearly, ls-l, ls-l. AWS is a directory, DevOps is a directory. Now f1.txt is a file, f2.txt is a file. How I am able to see these things? By using ls-l command. By using ls-l command. Okay. Now I want to see calendar. Click on cal. Is it displaying the calendar for you? Is it displaying the calendar for you? Cal is one command which is used to display the calendar. February month 2022, 19th date today, it is Saturday. Are we able to see the calendar? By using which command we are able to see the calendar? Cal command. By using cal command. By using cal command. If you give date command, it is displaying only date. Saturday, February 19th, 2022. Cal command, date command, we can execute. Help command, all the commands that we can use in the Linux, it is displaying the commands, all the important commands that is displaying. Help command, hello command, you can execute one command called hello command. Hello is not available. We need to install the hello command by default. Okay, we'll talk about the commands installation later point of time. If I want to close this, then I will go for what? Exit. I will be logged out from my session. Okay, this is just basic commands we have explained. So all next 1 week we are going to work on the Linux only. Don't worry about it. Guys, is this clear? How can we launch EC2 instance with Linux OS? And what is a key pair? Are you comfortable with this? How to launch EC2 instance with Linux OS? And what is public key and private key? How can we launch EC2 instance? How can we connect from the browser and frequently used commands? Now, next step is connecting to EC2 instance using putty. Connecting to EC2 instance using putty. Good. Connecting to EC2 instance using putty. Putty is one open source software which is used to connect from Windows machine to Linux machine. What is putty, guys? Putty is a free software. Which is used to connect from Windows machine to Linux machine. PuTTY is a free software which is used to connect from Windows machine to Linux machine. Are you guys able to understand? In the real time, when we are working with the EC2 instances, we will connect to EC2 instances by using PuTTY software only, guys. You should know how to use the PuTTY software. PuTTY is a free software which is used to connect from Windows machine to Linux machine. PuTTY is an open source software or free software which is used to connect from Windows machine to Linux machine. That means here I am having AWS data center. Here I'm having AWS data center, collection of servers. In this AWS data center, I have EC2 instance with Linux OS. I have launched it just now. Just now I have launched it. EC2 instance, nothing but one machine, one computer, virtual computer. In that EC2 instance, I am using Ubuntu OS. I'm using Ubuntu OS. What is Ubuntu? Ubuntu is one of the Linux distribution. We can say Ubuntu is a Linux flavor. Ubuntu is a Linux flavor. Now, I have one computer with me. I have one computer. This is my personal computer. This is my personal computer. My PC, my laptop. In this, I am using Windows because user interface is good for the Windows. I am having Windows OS. I'm having Windows OS. Okay. Now, here I want to connect from my Windows machine to EC2 instance, which is running in the AWS data center with Ubuntu OS. Now you know what is data center, you know what is EC2, you know what is Ubuntu. They are running in some location. Now I have my computer. I want to connect from my computer to EC2 instance. Which is software we are using? Which is software we are using, guys? Which is software we are using? PuTTY. PuTTY is acting as a mediator between our Windows machine and a Linux machine. PuTTY is acting as a mediator between our Windows machine and the EC2 instance. Like this, we are going to establish the connection. If it is Windows, if EC2 instance having Windows, then we will use RDP. Are you guys getting my point? In the last session, I have launched an EC2 instance with Windows OS. How I am connecting to EC2 instance with Windows OS? RDP. RDP. RDP is available in the my machine. In the Windows OS only RDP available. PuTTY is available in our machine, or PuTTY we have to download separately. PuTTY is an external software. RDP is an inbuilt software in the Windows. RDP is an inbuilt software in the Windows. But PuTTY is a third-party software. We are downloading the PuTTY. We are downloading the PuTTY. Okay. Look at this diagram. Are you clear with this? What is the purpose of PuTTY? Are you clear with this? What is the purpose of PuTTY? PuTTY is a third-party software. We are using PuTTY software to connect from our Windows machine to Linux machine, which is running in the AWS data center. Okay. Now, EC2 instance is secured or EC2 instance is not secured? EC2 instance is secured or EC2 instance is not secured? EC2 instance is secured. How it is secured? How the EC2 instance is secured? Is there any key available in the EC2? This EC2 instance is having what key? Public key. EC2 instance is having what key? It is a public key. It is a public key. In my machine, what I am having? In my machine, what I am having? I am having private key. In my machine, I am having a private key. Okay. EC2 instance is having a public key. My machine is having a private key. So, in order to connect with the EC2, we need to send the private key. This private key is available in which form now? The private key I have in the .pem. The private key which I have downloaded, available in the which format? .pem format. .pem format. Okay. PEM stands for what? partial exchange membrane .pem file. What is a PEM file and how does it is other open from the SSL? It is a secret file which we are getting. What are PEM files? Privacy enhanced mail PEM files are a typical public infrastructure file used for key certificates. Privacy enhanced mail. Privacy enhanced mail is the full form of the PEM file. But the problem is, Putty cannot understand the PEM files. Are you guys able to understand my point? EC2 gave me PEM file. In the PEM file, I have a private key. Now, how I am connecting to the EC2? By using Putty. So I need to give the private key to the Putty. Putty should send the private key to the EC2. The private key will be compared with the public key. If the private key matching with the public key, then Putty will establish the connection with the EC2. But the thing is, Putty don't know what is PEM file. Putty don't know what is PEM file. Then what should we do? What should we do? When we have created EC2 instance, when we have created EC2 instance, we have downloaded key pair file .pem extension. What file we have downloaded? Key pair file we have downloaded. What is the extension of the key pair file? .pem file. When we have created EC2 instance, we have downloaded key pair file .pem extension. Putty cannot understand the PEM files, so we need to convert the PEM file to PPK file. Putty cannot understand .pem files. Hence, we need to convert .pem file to .ppk file. We need to convert a .pem file to .ppk file. To convert to .pem file to .ppk file, we will use Putty Gen software. What is that? To convert .pem file to .ppk file, we will use Putty Gen software. We will use Putty Gen software. Now we have installed Putty software. Yesterday I have shown you in the document how to install the Putty. When I install the Putty software, can you see I'm getting Putty Gen software also or not? Am I getting Putty Gen software or not? Come on guys. When I have installed the Putty, am I getting the Putty Gen software? Yes, I got the Putty Gen software and I have a Putty software. When I have downloaded the Putty, I got the Putty Gen and I got the Putty also. How to download this Putty software? Directly go to browser, Putty download, download Putty. Here you can download Putty here. When I click on this link here, it is giving me MSI file. You can download this installer. Putty software is downloaded for you. When you click on that link to download, the first file you can download, MSI file you can download. Putty software downloaded. When you install that Putty software, it will be installed to C program files Putty. In this Putty, you have a Putty Gen software, Putty Gen.exe and Putty.exe available. All of you able to download the Putty. You can download from here. The first one, MSI installer, you have to download 64-bit Putty you have to download. Once you download and install, you can see Putty Gen.exe and Putty.exe. Putty Gen.exe and Putty.exe file is downloaded. Then open Putty Gen.exe. Am I able to open Putty Gen.exe? MSI is nothing but installer file. Directly you can install that file. Now, okay, fine guys. With this, we understand how to launch EC2 instance with Ubuntu OS. And in my computer, I have installed Putty. Putty is acting as a mediator between my Windows computer and EC2 instance with the Linux OS. But the problem is my EC2 is secured. Everybody cannot access my EC2 directly. It is secured by using key pair. What is a key pair? AWS providing a key pair with public key and private key. AWS will store the public key, we store the private key. When we want to connect to the EC2 instance, we have to send the private key. We have to send the private key. Then what we are going to do here? We are using PEM file. Can I give the PEM file to the putty directly? Can I give PEM file to the putty directly? Putty cannot understand the PEM file. Which files putty will understand? Which files putty will understand? Which files putty will understand? .ppk, 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 .ppk. You got my point. You got my point. PPK files. Okay. Then what we need to do? What we need to do? We need to convert the PEM file to PPK file by using which software? Putty Gen software. We need to convert the that PEM file to that PPK file. For that, we will use Putty Gen software. Can you read this, guys, once? Read this once. Read this once. Read this once. What is Putty? You understand why we are converting? You understand why we are converting PEM file to PPK file? Are we understanding why we are converting PEM file to PPK file? Are you able to understand why we are converting PEM file to PPK file? Are you clear with this point? Are you clear with this point? All right, guys. Good now. Putty. PPK. PPK nothing but putty private key. Okay, now can we convert the PEM file to PPK file? Okay, in order to convert that, let's click on load. Let's click on load. So what is that key we have downloaded? Linux VM key pair. Now here by default it is checking PPK, select all files. It is giving you Linux VM key pair PEM file. That now you make sure you have selected all files here. Then only PEM file will be displayed. Select a PEM file. After selected the PEM file, you don't do generate. You just click on save private key. You just click on save private key. Yes, that's it. What do you want to save? Linux VM private key. That's it. It will be stored with the PPK extension directly. Okay, that's it. Don't use generate, guys. You just need to import that file and you need to save that file. That's it. Now I have saved my file. You can see that my PPK file got saved. PEM file AWS has given me. By using puttygen, I converted that PEM file to PPK file. Okay. Now let's go to putty software. Let's go to putty software. Now, what I need to do in the putty? What I need to do in the putty? Can I directly give the IP and connect? Can I directly give the IP and connect? No. I need to load the PPK file to my putty. How can I load it? Go to SSH auth private key file for authentication. EC2 instance is having public key. We have a private key. Now browse, load that private key. Load that private key. Linux VM private key is just now. I have generated this private key using PEM file. Load it. Load this. Open. File is loaded. Once the file is loaded, now go to session, host name or IP. You can pass host name or IP. Where you can find the host name or IP? In the EC2 dashboard, you just select this your instance. It will give you public IP. Copy this IP address. Now keep this IP here. Keep this IP here. Click on open. Now accept. Login as. It is asking username. What is the username of our instance? Ubuntu. What is the username? Ubuntu. Login as Ubuntu. Authenticating. You see here. You read it. What is this? Is it authenticating when I'm connecting to instance? What is the meaning of authentication? Comparing our private key with the public key. As my private key matched with the public key, it is able to connect. With this, we are able to connect to EC2 by using putty. Now, can we execute the command? pwd. What is the meaning of pwd? Present working directory. Who am I? Who am I? Ubuntu. ls. You see, already AWS folder directory available, DevOps directory available, f1.txt file, f2.txt file available. How come these files are available here? Already I have created them from the browser. That is the reason I'm able to see that. Okay, clear it. ls-l. You can see all the things here. AWS is one directory, DevOps is one directory, f1.txt is one file, f2.txt is one file. AWS directory, D represents a directory, hyphen represents a normal files. Now, in the next session, we will talk about Linux architecture. We will talk about the Linux. I have prepared a document also for that, guys. What is the Linux architecture? How the Linux is working? What is the file system of the Linux? How the files will be organized in the Linux? How we need to work with the Linux operating system? That we are going to discuss in the next session. I have already prepared a document for you. What is Linux architecture? What is a kernel in the Linux? What is hardware? What is kernel? What is a shell? What is application in the Linux? What is the file system in the Linux? What are these four directories available in the Linux? And how to work with the Linux operating system, we are going to understand. So now, with today's session, are you clear with what is Linux OS, how to launch EC2 instance with Linux OS, and what is putty, what is public key, what is private key, what is PEM file, what is PPK file. To convert PEM file to PPK file, we will use putty gen. Once we convert .pem to .ppk file, we can use that PPK file to connect with EC2 instance. Okay. Now what I will do in this putty software is I will give EC2 instance IP. I will give my EC2 instance IP, and I will give PPK file which is having a private key. EC2 instance public IP. EC2 instance public IP I will give to putty, and along with this I will give PPK file which is having a private key. I will give PPK file which is having private key. Is this clear? Now here I am having my AWS data center. This is my putty software. This is my Windows computer. This is my Windows machine. From Windows machine, I'm connecting to this putty software. Using this putty software, I'm connecting to AWS data center EC2 instance which is having Ubuntu OS. AWS data center. I'm connecting to AWS data center. In this AWS data center, I have EC2 instance with Ubuntu OS. I have EC2 instance which is having Ubuntu OS. Ubuntu OS is one of the Linux flavor. By using putty, I'm connecting to this EC2 instance. This is what we will do in the real time. In the data center, we will launch instances and we will connect it to those instances by using putty. Putty is an open source software. Are you guys comfortable with this? Now you have more clarity today. Yesterday you have just followed my document and you are able to launch it, but today you have more clarity. What is this public key, private key, what is the key pair, what is putty gen, what is putty, what is PEM file, what is PPK file? You have clarity or not? So from Monday, what we need to discuss? Linux. We need to understand how to work with Linux operating system. Without having Linux knowledge, you cannot work with AWS, because in the real time, all the AWS services we are going to use in the Linux machines only. Whether you work as a AWS engineer or you work as a DevOps engineer, Linux knowledge is mandatory. I gave you clear introduction about what is operating system, what is Windows operating system, what is Linux operating system, how Linux came into market, what are the Linux distributions, how to launch Linux machine in the EC2, and how to connect to that Linux by using putty, what is the PEM file, what is PPK file, how to convert the PEM file to PPK file. We are able to connect it, and we have executed some basic commands also here. Like I have executed what commands? pwd, who am I, mkdir, ls, ls-l. Some commands we have executed. Some more commands also we are going to understand. Next 1 week we are going to work on Linux only, guys. Next 1 week we are going to work on the Linux operating system. Is this clear for all of you? Yeah, good. Thank you. So please practice. Same process for Red Hat and SUSE also, guys. So please practice how to launch EC2 instance, and how to connect to the EC2 by using putty and execute some basic commands in the putty. And once your work is completed, so don't waste the time of your free space. Just stop your instance. Just stop your instance, or you can terminate your instance also. You can stop the instance, or you can terminate your instance also once your work is completed, because monthly 750 hours they are giving for all the instances. Okay, now stop your instances once your work is completed. So to avoid the billing, we are going to stop our instances. Fine, thank you. When I stopped my instance, my connection also closed. My putty connection got closed. My putty connection got closed, guys. Fine. With this, I'm stopping for today. We'll continue again on Monday. Thank you, guys. I will see you on Monday. If you have any doubts, you can chat with me in the Telegram group. Any doubts that you have, any questions that you have, please post in the Telegram. I have another class at 9:30. Okay, tomorrow no class, Sunday. Just enjoy your weekend. We'll connect again on Monday. We'll get started with the Linux from Monday. 1 week we are going to work with the Linux operating system. Thank you. Thank you so much. We'll see you on Monday. Thank you, guys. Happy weekend.